Yeah, especially sort of thanks for joining us on a Sunday, right? So, so this is here an outline sort of you can see on the screen, right? So I'll just introduce you about about the project EduAccess, what we do here, and to our panelists for this session, and then sort of the panelists can take it from here. Right. So Project EduAccess, right? I hope that most of you will be familiar with what we do because we've been doing it for a couple of years now. Sort of we've expanded recently quite a bit, sort of, so you would have some idea, if sort of at least heard of the Project EduAccess. That's what we hope, right? So access to higher education, literacy, professional opportunities, and the privilege that which is uh, which we have gotten to know more about in the last few years. And this is where sort of our work comes in. So our sort of work is to make sure that this privilege there's a gap, right? So it's these things are only available to those who have these privileges. This is where we come in sort of bridge the gap, right? So most people from the marginalized communities are systematically denied through cost, information, and dispositional barriers. So, and this is where the project EduAccess comes in, and to provide a we attempt to improve inclusivity in these spaces by removing some of these barriers for marginalized communities in the global south. We aim to improve the participation representation of individuals from marginalized communities in higher education and create avenues for their personal, professional, and leadership development. Now, we do this by adopting 4 key interventions, evidence to be effective in achieving these aims. First, you have mentoring, counseling, and role modeling for those who are looking forward to for higher education abroad. And then the second is information, advice, and guidance. Third, capacity building and leadership skills that we focus on. And the last is evidence-based advocacy, right? So this session is again a part of these initiatives that we have at Project EduAccess. Today we are focused especially on Commonwealth Shared Scholarships. So we have 2 panelists for this session. The first panelist, we have Aarti Rajput, who is from Sussex University, and is just correct me if I'm wrong. You're doing MA in Powered Participation Social Change, or you have already done it. So I don't have yeah. So and then we have the second speaker is Siddhi Joshi, who is doing MSc in Global Sustainability Solutions from University of Exeter. So we have 2 panelists who are from 2 different universities and who know about the topic at hand today, which is Commonwealth Shared Scholarship. And I will not take a lot of time, and I'll invite, I think Aarti is going first. So I'll invite Aarti to take it forward from here, and I'll keep changing the slides as you command. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for the introduction, Ashwini. Would you mind if I share my screen for the slides? Because the thing is, I can control it.
Perfect. I don't mind at all. Thank you.
Okay, just a second. I'll just do it. Taking too much time. So, hello everyone. As Ashwini has already mentioned that I'm pursuing my master's in power participation and social change in University of Sussex at IDS. And I am a Commonwealth scholar, Commonwealth Shared Scholar, who received scholarship in 2024 today, I mean in the year itself. And just to give you an overview about the scholarship, what the scholarship is about, and how you can actually apply for it. So this scholarship is fully funded scholarship, a 1-year master scholarship that would be funded by the CSC Commission and also the university. So the university would be playing a major role in this as well. It supports the candidate who would otherwise be unable to pursue the higher education abroad, especially in UK. And all right, and the application must be the applicants must be from the Commonwealth country, which is India as well, and have been granted refugee status or be permanently based in Commonwealth country. And candidate must apply once through CSC website. So you have to apply for the courses separately from the courses website, but you have to apply for the scholarship on the CSE website. And candidate can apply for one. I mean, if you want, you can apply for more than one course. So I would suggest do apply as many courses for as many things, or as many courses and as many university that you think you are perfectly fitting into. And the university would be nominating you, and then they would share your name to the CSE commission, and then CSE commission would be contacting you for the further process. So let's begin. What are the things there, what you need to keep in mind, and what things you should be prepared with. So if we talk about the CSC development themes, there are 6 themes on which you have to look upon. And also based on these themes, you have certain courses from the university that you can look for. And if you feel like, okay, this theme is something which is fitting with your goal, with your sustainable development thing that you want to pursue, you want to go ahead with, so you can go with that. So there is one theme. If I talk, yeah. So let's just start this. The one theme is science and technology for development. The second theme is strengthening health system and capacity. The third theme is promoting global prosperity. The fourth is strengthening global peace, security, and governance. The fifth is strengthening resilience and response to crisis. And the last theme is access, inclusion, and opportunities. So I would suggest you to go to the website of CSC website and just look at these themes, what the themes are saying, and what's written there. And then through that, you can also look for the courses which are being eligible for these kind of themes. So I would suggest you to have a close look up to all these courses, and then go to the website of the universities and check the courses and the modules, because the modules would be helping you a lot to understand what the course is actually providing you. And this would help you in framing your essay answers as well. So have a close look to these things. And yeah, so you can apply to multiple courses. Each course required a separate application. So if you want to apply for 10 courses, let's say, so you have to go through 10 application forms, and you have to modify your answer based on the courses that you want to pursue, or based on the themes that you want to go with. So just do that. And the essay would be, yeah, that's what I already said. The essay can be proposed for each of the course. And here are some tips that you need to keep in mind while applying for these courses. Scan through the relevant CSC themes. That's what I said. Just go through the website again and again. Just get used to with the website, so that it would be easier for you to actually catch what the CSC is actually looking in terms of answering these questions, answering these themes, or addressing these themes in your answers. So this is what you can do. Search for the keywords for relevant to your domain. If you feel like you want to do, for example, public policy, just search for the key themes or the keywords that you can actually involve in your essays too. And the third tip would be check the university web pages for the given courses to track eligibility criteria, the deadlines, very important, and the additional requirements that you need to take care of. Yeah. If I talk about the website, the CSC website, it looks like that. The interface is like that. So based on the themes that you have here, you have the courses here as well, the universities and the courses which they are providing. So this would be giving you information that, okay, this course is available in this particular theme. But I would suggest you to go to the website of the courses and have a close look up of these courses, the modules, the professors, and the research activities that they are involved in. So these information would be helping you a lot to actually frame your answers in a very streamlined manner. This is what I did. And yeah, so even the link is there. If the PPT would be available to you all, then it would be easier for you to go through this link. I don't know where's the link, but yeah, I think, yeah, it's there only. Okay, if I talk about the eligibility criteria, so anybody who has completed the undergrad degree before September 2025 is eligible for this scholarship. And yeah, you should be having, you should just complete your graduation. That doesn't mean that you should be having a degree. That's completely fine if you don't have the degree, but any provisional certificate would be applicable for that too. So don't worry about that. If you have completed your graduation, you are eligible for this scholarship. By September 2025, you need to hold a degree at least upper second class. Do remember this word, upper second class, because in my time when I was applying, I got confused with the kind of criteria that they have mentioned there on the website. I didn't know, okay, this is upper second class, the degree that we come from. So do remember this as well. And or a second class degree and a relevant postgraduate qualification, if you have, do mention that as well. There would not be any problem. Not have If you not have studied or worked more than a year in a different country, then in a high income country, then you are eligible for this scholarship too. And be unable if you are unable to actually afford your education abroad, or if you are financially not that stable, then you can apply for this scholarship. These are the eligibility criteria that you need to look for. Yeah. If I talk about the supporting documents, then obviously the proof that you are a citizen of the country, or if you have a refugee status, if you have the proof, you need them to apply for this scholarship. And the valid copy of your passport, and also the high school. So I didn't have the birth certificate, so I uploaded my 10th grade mark sheet. So yeah, that's it. And I think we'll be taking the question after that. I'm so sorry. I'm just thinking of completing this slide. So yeah, do post your questions there in the chat. I'll be more than happy to answer. Yeah, there should be full transcript detailing all your higher education, all your higher qualification, including to the day transcript for any course currently being studied, with a certificate translation if not in English. So basically there are few of the colleges in India that provide the transcript in Hindi or in the regional languages. So if you don't have them in English, do ask the institution. They'll be making it in English, or they'll be doing some translation or something. So you can have that document, and you need to upload that document on the website, CSC website, while applying for this scholarship. And the letter of recommendation, very very important. Do mention this to your professors that they need to submit the letter of recommendation on the letterhead of the institution. This is very important, otherwise it would be a long process. And yeah, I'll be talking more about this later on. But yeah, do inform them well in advance, your professor. You need three letter of recommendation. So do inform your professors, three professors, or anyone from the professional sphere. So I submitted all of my LORs from the university itself. I mean, all were my professors, not from the places where I worked. So do inform them well in advance, because it would be a very tiring and very stressful process as well. Yeah, if I talk about the application process, so in mid-November and December, this application start as it is started now, and you need to submit your essays and the college application. This would be your task for the months. And in June, you'll be getting the email from the university, even from the Commonwealth Commission, that you got nominated for this thing, and now you need to submit your all right. I don't know. I think I'm getting some messages. I'm so sorry. I'm on my PPT interface, so I won't be able to see the messages, but I just come. Okay. So in June, you'll be getting the information from the university that you have been shortlisted for the course and for the scholarship. And then in June itself, you have to submit the LORs. That's what I was telling you. You do inform your professor well in advance, and do mention that they need to submit the LOR on the letterhead of the institution. Then comes to June and July. That would be the day. These would be the time period for your award. So you will be signing a declaration. There would be a confirmation of the award, and yeah. So for completing the application form, there are three LORs which are actually required. So basically, for me, you need to mention three names for the references. And if you feel like, okay, the other person or the third person won't be able to submit the LOR, that's perfectly fine. They can do well with the two LORs as well. But do mention the three, because I'll be telling you my story, what happened to me, and it would be very very stressful if you have to go on through the same kind of process. So if I talk about the completing of the application form, list all the undergrad and postgraduate university qualification obtained so far. So do mention that, and list up to 10 publication and prizes. To be honest, I this is very much optional, because this wasn't the case, same case with me. I used to publish few of the articles on my own through ResearchGate and through other platforms. So those were the articles that I mentioned there, and the prizes that I received in my college, in my higher school. So yeah, it would be optional, but yeah, do mention it. It would be very impactful in your application if you mention that. Provide details of employment history and explain how the experience gained support and is relevant to the program to be undertaken in UK. So do mention that. Take this part very seriously. Do mention every single project that you've been a part of, even if it's a small project. Don't really hesitate to actually mention it in the application, because they are actually looking for someone who has practically worked in a field. So do mention that. List the name of three references. That's what I was telling. You need to mention three referees in your application, and do inform them well in advance. That's what I did. Before mentioning their names, I informed them that I'll be mentioning your name for LOR. Please share, or do share the LORs with me on time. So that's what I mentioned them. And the essays and other documents, such as if you have any certificate, any award certificate, if you have uh, any project certificate that you were involved in, you can actually upload that too. I did that. Yeah, now come to the references. List the name of the three references. That's what I'm saying. Then you need to mention three referees who will be qualified to comment on the both your candidate's capacity to benefit from the proposed scholarship in the UK, and their ability to deliver development impact afterwards. So it would be in a specific format, and I think they'll be sharing the format in which you can actually mention this to your professor, that they need to follow certain format for the scholarship. This would be very different from the one that they are sharing for universities. So do mention them. And one of the referees must be a current employee. This is applicable, this is optional, to be honest. Why? Because for in my case, all the three referees were my professor, and I completed my graduation in 2020, so it was a way behind, but still my professors were there, and I asked them to actually comment on my capabilities. Yeah. And references usually asked after the nomination. Yeah, this is very much there. References are only asked to you after the nomination, so you don't need to worry about it. So if you get nominated, if you are selected by the university and CSC, then they'll be contacting you for the references. Now, practice in the previous years, candidates who are nominated will be mailed by the Commonwealth Shared Commission with details of where to send references, deadline and format. Candidates will then have to contact their referees and request them to mail the references to the CSE. Well, I am not actually sure about this, because like this is something that has been done to someone who got nominated and was in the waiting list earlier in the previous year. This wasn't the case with me, so I'm not really sure. I think someone can actually pick up and talk about it. Yeah. Now, yeah, if I talk about the overview of the essays, there are total 5 essays that you need to written, and there are sub part of the essays as well, of the questions. So first one would be on the development impact. In this, there are 4 parts of this question, so you need to talk about the statement in I mean, you need to talk about the development issue that you want to address, how your CSC team is actually aligning with that particular issue, how you gonna handle that. I mean, what are your plans, what are your goals? uh, uh, so in my case, what I did, I mentioned few of the reports of the global organization on the theme that I was working on. So that really legitimized the argument that I wanted to make in the application. The word limit is very much stressful, to be honest, but do be in word limit and try to mention as much as can. And that's why I said that do focus on impactful words. In small word you can explain a large amount of things, so do mention on such kind of things. If I talk about their second essay, which is on study outline. Here you need to mention what you want to gain from that particular course that you want to pursue in that particular university, the kind of project that you want to get involved with, the kind of professors that you want to work with. So do mention all of that. It's a proper study outline. So do mention what would be your research project, what would be your dissertation if you want to mention that. And do mention few of the courses, a few of the modules of the courses as well. That's what I did at my time. I just went through the courses and I mentioned few of the courses module that I am interested in. This module, this module would be helping me in addressing that kind of concern. This module would be enriching my experience. So that's what I'll be doing. I was doing. Now the third would be your career goals. So in the career goals, you need to talk about your short-term plan and your long-term plan, and how this scholarship would be helping you to actually achieving those goals. And do mention, this is the part where you can actually mention how I mean, the Commonwealth Shared Scholarship is important for you to actually pursue the goals that you have in your mind. Next comes to the a personal statement. Here would be a very I would say this would be your place to actually show them that you are the best candidate for this scholarship, and that would be a loss to them if you don't get selected. So do mention every single thing there, even if it's your personal story. If you, even if you feel like okay, you haven't really impacted anybody's life, that's perfectly fine. If it's somewhere mentioning the qualities that you have, the leadership qualities that you have, do mention that story. And do refine it, your answers. Do write, start writing, and you'll be, do introspect, go through your story, go through your experiences, what you have learned, what kind of leadership quality you have shown in different kind of situation, whether it's public, whether it's private. Do mention that. And now the next one and the last one would be your voluntary and the leadership experiences. This would be a good place to actually mention the kind of activities that you have been involved, and that is more sort of related to the theme of the Commonwealth. So yeah, this is from my side. I think I should stop sharing my screen, and Siddhi can go ahead with that. Should I? Siddhi, do you want me to?
Yeah. Thank you so much, Aarti. I think Ashwini is going to be sharing his screen.
Sure.
My tabs are pretty chaotic this morning.
Yeah, no worries.
Hi, so I'll just give me a second. I'll just share the slides. Let me know if it's visible. Can you see the slides?
Yeah, perfectly visible.
Great.
All right. Okay, so first of all, thank you so much for having me here. It's always very nostalgic to be back at Project EduAccess, because it was in the middle of 2023 wherein I was on the other end trying to figure out how to answer these scholarship questions, to navigate through all of these application paths and all of that. And it's wonderful to be back and be here on the other side, trying to help you all also navigate through the same. So there's that. And it was also pretty nostalgic to listen to Aarti go through all of the parts of the application. So some quick notes or some things I would want to like emphasize upon as well before we start into talking more about the essays, the developmental impact essays, and some more detailed tips about how to go about them. So first of all, very quickly, the good part is that for the Commonwealth shared scholarships, the courses are very much neatly divided into the themes, right? So if you do look through the website that was sent just a while ago, like the courses are already divided, right? So for example, the 6 CSE themes, you know which courses will be a part of access, inclusion, opportunity, for example, right? So this year, for example, if you were to study MA in disability studies at the Liverpool University, that's a part of the access inclusion theme, for example. So I think it makes your work a tad bit easier, wherein you already know what is it that they're looking for. And then I'd suggest going through the developmental themes they already CSE mentions on their website, to go ahead and read more about what are they expecting, what is it that they care about, right? I think Aarti has already re-emphasized on like how important university websites themselves as a source are, and also the Commonwealth website. And I would like to double down upon the same. Every university has a dedicated page for the specific course, for the specific things that they're offering on the course, the specific skills they hope that you develop through taking that up. And I think it is very critical that you make use of that and connect your Commonwealth application to the specific course you're applying to. Because specifically for the Commonwealth Shared Scholarship, the university has a very major role to play. So you want to like impress the university and also, of course, the Commonwealth Scholarship Committee, right? Again, apply for as many courses as you can. There is no limit on the number of courses you can apply for. So go ahead and see what is it and what are the things that you care about, what are the things that you really and genuinely want to learn from, and honestly go all out. Of course, like modify your application for each of these courses and all of that, modify your essays, but go for as many applications as you can. Go ahead and talk to other alumni, the people who have studied the same course. So even if they're not like a scholarship holder, for example, if you can find hold of somebody who has, let's say, studied the same course, for example, at University of Exeter, go ahead, talk to them, learn from their personal experience, learn what is it that they liked or disliked about the course, for example, and you can also, take so much from there. So there's that. Last but not the least, LORs. Of course, when especially for Commonwealth shared scholarships, they ask for LORs at the very end, only if you get selected and all of that. But I'd suggest to prepare them in advance because professors, for example, can be busy. Your employers, the former employers, for example, if applicable, can be busy. And LORs are that last critical piece of information that would tip you towards a successful application. So talk to the people you want to get the letter of recommendation from, talk to them in advance, talk to them about what is it that you are hoping that they are able to highlight through making a case for you. So there's that. And now, diving back to the presentation, specifically the portion on all of these developmental impact essays, right? So to begin with, in the part one, you have a question wherein you're supposed to tackle how your proposed study relates to a developmental issue at the global, national, and local level. And part B, the developmental issue, how is it connected to your chosen CSE developmental theme and the wider sector? So of course, it's not the easiest thing to answer in 200 words, and that's it. But to begin with, here are some suggestions from our end to go about the same. So of course, explain the problem and the issue that you want to focus on connected to the CSE theme. But how would you go about it? You can, of course, use a personal story, talk about how it is something that, for example, comes in from your lived experiences. You can go ahead and make the problem. I mean, of course, there exists a problem, right, at whatever level, but the idea is to make that problem personal to you. How is it that you are inspired to solve this problem, or why do you want to solve this problem? Like, what is your personal stake in this larger problem that exists? To go about the same, you can obviously use statistics from credible sources to highlight the magnificence of the problem, right? So you could be talking about women empowerment, for example. You could be talking about climate change. You could be talking about pollution levels in Delhi, for example, or whatever it is that you're hoping to learn more about or tackle through your degree, right? But making it personal gives it that kind of edge. And then again, it's always a good idea to connect it to different tiers, like global, national, and local levels. I think the question itself demands you of that. So there is something that's personal to you, but then how does it affect you at a community level? How are you hoping that you're contributing to the country? And then, of course, the larger world, right? Because it is a global and interconnected world. And the idea is that we are learning from each other and all of that. The Commonwealth applications also tend to focus a lot on the sustainable developmental goals. So it's always a good idea to like connect the issue to a specific SDG and talk about it in terms of the same. And then again, keep tying it back to how will your specific degree, how will your specific course in this specific university will solve this issue. I personally recommend going ahead and doing like a free like word count free dump of sorts, like go ahead, answer this question for yourself, use 1000 word even if required, and then like maybe highlight the main things that you're like, okay, I definitely want to mention that, and then begin like chopping down the word count. Don't do a thing I would recommend personally that, like you're like, okay, I need to like scrunch myself up in like 200 words and specifically go about it. I think start from like more words and then like narrow it down so that you're not missing out on something that is personally important to you and you're able to utilize the space better. Moving on. Next slide, please. Oh, yeah. Okay, so in the second developmental part, the specific question is, how do you intend to apply your new skills and your new qualifications when you return home? The word limit is even more tighter this time, only 100 words, right? So when you're tackling this question, of course, talk about what will you want to do once you come back home, but also what are the specific skills that you will gain and how will you want to apply them. And for this, of course, go back to the course website page. Every course website page is trying to sell the course, essentially. It's talking about, hey, if you take our course, you'll learn A, B, C, D, and X, Y, Z, Z, and here is what our alumni have been doing, and all of that, right? So take it from there, take ideas from there, see if there are skills that personally resonate with you. Are there some outcomes that the course is promising that also like align with you? How can you sort of modify the same? Are there things that are genuinely looking forward to learning? I think at the end of the day, the people who are like reading your applications, they get tons and tons of application. I think what really does set a candidate apart is not just their like fancy achievements and the things they've done here and there and like how proactive they've been. I think what all like applicant, like the application, like the people who are reading applications are looking forward to is that genuine interest, that genuine curiosity, that genuine drive. And that is why I think all of these essays, like it keeps coming back to make it personal to you, make it genuine, right? Because you can just tell that if there's a person who like cares about something, right? And then of course, I hope that all the things that you're talking about in your application hopefully are the things that you actually care about, right? But also in all of these application questions, because the word limit is so tight, try to be as precise as possible, mention the specific skills, mention the specific actions. Details matter, which is to say that it's just 100 words, right? But through your 100 words, how can you showcase that, hey, you actually went to the CSE website and you researched about this course, you actually went to talk to whatever XYZ alumni and picked up on this very specific, let's say, retreat that they do every year, and how maybe, for example, the geography department of your course offers this retreat to all the people who take this course every year, and that is what you want to do, right? So that specific detail and going ahead and taking that extra mile and being able to showcase it in your answer will, will take you that far, hopefully. So that is that. And then the idea literally being showcase you care. And when I say showcase you care, I genuinely hope that you care about the things you're talking about, and then again, the idea is to be able to like demonstrate that there's genuine passion, there's genuine interest, that you genuinely care about this. All right, the next slide, please. Okay, another essay question. So what you expect will change in development terms following your studies, including A, the outcomes you aim to achieve, B, the time frame for their implementation, C, the beneficiaries. So this is a 250 word limit, a tad bit bigger of a word limit than the previous two essays, of course, but still pretty tight, of course. So make sure that whenever it comes to all of these part-based questions, that you're answering all of the parts of the questions. So don't like try to balance the 250 words in such a way that they're divided to answer all of these three parts, like the outcomes, the time frame, the beneficiaries. Try to make it in such a way that, don't make it in such a way that you're just talking so much about A and B, for example, and not enough about the C, right? So again, the idea is to expand on the specific actions and exact outcomes that you're hoping to achieve developmentally once you're doing your course. So are there any workshops that you're hoping to conduct? Are there any conferences you're hoping to contribute to? Are there any projects that you're hoping to start, for example, right? So be ambitious when you're talking about all of these. Don't be afraid to dream. Don't be afraid to, really talk about what is it that you want to do. but also be realistic. So when you're presenting the timeframes, present time-bound goals, make it as specific as possible again. And then when it comes to the question on the beneficiaries, you're supposed to talk about who are going to be your target audience and how are they benefiting through the action steps that you plan to take once you're completing your course. So yeah, that would be that. Moving on to the next essay. All right, so the next question is again a 100-word question, really. So how the impact of your work could be best measured. So this is something they want to derive from you. It's something that comes in from the previous question that was just asked. So you want to do some impactful work once you return home, or like once you've done this degree, but then how is your impact going to be measured, right? So what are the parameters that you think should be used to measure the impact of your work, right? So one way to go about it is to use these existing indices by government agencies, UN agencies, or any other organizations. If you cannot find any existing parameters like those, or if you don't want to count on any existing parameters like those, please feel free to like explain what are the specific ones that you're going to go for. You can measure impact of your work through qualitative means or quantitative means. You could be conducting interviews or surveys or opinion research or things like that, for example. So let's say you're launching a project for a specific target audience, in this case, women, for example, of a certain age category. And to measure the impact that they've gained from your project, you could go ahead and conduct surveys after conducting the projects. For example, if it's like a longer term project, you could be doing like bi-monthly surveys or some things like that. That's just a rough idea. Again, just 100 words, but I think this is the kind of thing that can actually easily be explained in 100 words for sure, once you have like a clear-cut idea. So I think relatively it is like one of the easier questions to tackle once you have dealt with the impact part 3 question. So moving on to the next slide. The question about objectives during the award. So describe the skills that you expect to gain from the scholarship and your career plans once you return home afterwards. 250 words. At this point, while we do make a note later on in the presentation also about like how questions tend to be repetitive, I think the idea is for them to understand that it's not like for every new question you're throwing in like just new more things, but the idea is to get that sense of coherence, right? Like there's this one whole person and these are the XYZ things they want to do, but it's still like one story, it's like one narrative, it's different parts of this one person, right? So don't be scared to like repeat yourself, don't be scared to say the same thing, of course, but in different ways. So like when I say repeat yourself, I don't mean like, okay, so for example, if you want to demonstrate that you're confident, you have, let's say, 4 different stories to demonstrate that confidence, for example, right? So for this question specifically, talk about the opportunities you want to engage in during the award. These could be opportunities that the Commonwealth provides. These could also be the opportunities that like you if you check their website again, you can go through the pictures of the things that alumni have been engaged in, right? So maximizing your impact workshop, for example, is one of those recurring things that happens every year for all the Commonwealth scholars. So you can talk about opportunities like that and talk about what is it that you specifically look forward to learning from them. Then again, what are the initiatives that you want to take and the networks you want to build during your studies? Are there any extracurriculars that you're looking forward to specifically? Are there specifically any organizations that you want to reach out to and work with while you're in the country? And then, of course, if you have any intended dissertation topics in mind at all, you can, talk a bit about it or talk a bit about how you hope to even take that forward even after your study and things like that. All right, next slide, please. Career plans. Okay, so what are your career plans in the 5 years following the award, but also your longer term career plans? 250 words each. So in terms of like the 5-year common plans, these would entail the things that you want to do after you immediately return. the things that you would want to do in the next 3 to 5 years. So to answer the question, you could talk about very specific things that are measurable, ambitious, realistic, and time-bound, the good old SMART method. For the longer term career plans, that can be a bit tricky, but the things that you're hoping to do in the next 5 to 10 years, is there like a longer term vision or an objective that you aim to implement? Feel free to be as ambitious that you want to be, but even again, in the longer term career plans, it would be a better idea to still have like a clear time frame for all of these goals, to still be as specific as possible. Again, I think life is so unpredictable in so many ways. It's very hard to gauge what is going to happen in the next 1 year, 2 years, right? And so in such a situation, it is really hard to be like sure that, oh, like this is something I want to do in 5 years and to like actually deliver it. But the idea for a question like this is for them to essentially understand who you are as a person, what is it that you envision, what is it that you want to do. So don't be scared, for example, if you're having to change your long-term plan, once you get there, for example, right? So think about, like, in this moment, if you were to get the scholarship and if things were to happen the way you're planning to, then how would you like go about taking the next steps of your life, right? They want to know who is the person that they're investing in and what is it that they care about, what is it that they think about, and do they have a vision, a longer term vision, but also a shorter term vision to solve the problem that they're hoping to tackle through this scholarship award. Next slide, please. Study outline. So here you're supposed to provide a short outline of your proposed study or your research. The question itself mentions how this should be written for an audience that doesn't have any prior knowledge of the subject, so it shouldn't be overly technical. Any abbreviations or specialist terms must be explained. 125 words. Again, a very tricky word limit. I think it's always a good idea to go ahead and like read the questions and like reread them, because I think a lot of what they're expecting from you is already accounted for in the question statement itself, right? So here, when they're like, okay, talk about a short outline of your study or your research, they're also giving you this caution or this warning about like how you should use a simple language. You shouldn't make it too technical or things like that, right? Because the people who are assessing your applications might not be a very like big person in that field. It could very well be a person from social sciences assessing your applications, for example, that's rooted in pure sciences, for example. So here, specifically for this question, make sure you're using your simple language, because it's easy to get carried away and talk about this very specific cool thing or whatever, but like, how do you bring it down to an audience who doesn't know about the school idea or the school perspective or the school lens or things like that, right? Here, you would be talking about the rationale behind choosing this course. Why is it that you want to study this course? Are there any specific modules that you want to take? So modules are essentially these specific like lectures or things that your course comprises of. Again, go back to the course website, research about the modules, see if there are any specific ones that align to you. And then it would be a brilliant idea actually to talk about these modules, specific modules in the answer that you'll be crafting for your study outline question. So like adding on to that, if there are any specific people at the university that you're hoping to learn from, if there are any people that you're hoping to network with or collaborate with, talk about them as well. Is there any specific professor that you look forward to interacting with because you've read their work? Are there any specific organization in the university, for example, that you're hoping to, again, gain from? Talk about that. And if you have anything particular in mind when it comes to a dissertation topic, go ahead and mention it. Again, you don't have to stick to this dissertation topic once you're, for example, getting the award, right? The idea essentially is to give them a bite of how you think, where you come from, how are you thinking at this point in time, and that is all. So moving on to the next slide. A detailed plan of study. So in this question, there are 3 specific parts. The first part, why have you chosen your proposed courses and the universities, and why do you want to undertake this study in the UK? B, what is it that you're looking for in a course and how your chosen course relates to your objective? 3, any dissertation topic you might have in mind. So address all 3 parts of the questions. For all the parts questions, honestly, and make sure you're answering all of the parts. And even if they're not parts to a specific question, make sure that you're answering at every point in time the key thing that is it that they're looking for. So again, you can mention learnings from your previous experiences, skills or knowledge gaps that you're hoping to fill. You could be motivated to study in a specific university because of its ranking, because of its professors, research centers, or skills that the course is hoping that its students impart. It is always a good idea to talk about why specifically are you looking forward to study in this country. You could be studying somewhere else, for example, you could be studying in Canada or Australia, or you could very well be studying in your own country. But what is it that is so unique about UK as a country, this very specific course and this very specific university that you are hoping to personally gain from, that adds to your lived experiences and attracts you to go ahead and study there and, make these collaborations, for example. When it comes to your dissertation topic, again, for master's courses, dissertations comprise a very critical part of the degree. So once you're done with all of your modules and things like that, especially in the third term, you're supposed to focus on doing personal research of sorts on a specific project, for example. So if there is any specific research project that you want to work on for your dissertation, if you have any specific research proposal in mind or things like that, it would be a good idea to talk about all of this. Again, it's really hard to answer this question in just about 300 words, but a good idea to go about it would be to pour yourself out completely and then going ahead and making sure what are the specific things you want to talk about, and then, trying to reduce the word count from there. Next slide. Personal statement. So very, very critical, because here's like one time that you get to talk about your own self in the ways you want to talk about. So the other developmental questions tend to be a bit more targeted. They pose a question, they're like, this is what we're hoping to hear from you. But when it comes to your personal statement, it's like the ground is wide open. Here, you're supposed to summarize the ways in which your personal background has encouraged you to make an impact in your home country. You can indicate the areas in which you've already contributed. Have you overcome any personal or community barriers to higher education or things like that? So the idea here is to, of course, talk about your personal journey. Think about what is your story. What is it that makes you, you, right? I think one thing I personally wanted to highlight here was that nothing is too small. So the thing you're talking about, or wanting to talk about, could very well be something that you undertook, for example, in a family, right? So for me, for example, one thing that I feel very proud of is igniting these discussions about feminism in my, like, literally family circle. And that can be very tricky sometimes because nobody really wants to like talk about that. Every uncle and auntie would have their typical mentality, for example. But I take pride in doing something like that, for example, right? So the idea is that nothing is too small. Like sometimes you might feel like, oh, impact is like this huge thing you're supposed to do, or you're supposed to have done yada 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 to be able to even go ahead and like apply for things like these. But at the end of the day, nothing is too small. The impact you might have made on one person, on one very small circle, for example, is big enough. It matters. So, self-reflect a lot. Really go ahead and sit and think about your life, regardless of whether you're able to make a successful application or not. I think the application process in itself really gives you that shake that you need to understand who you are as a person and understand what is it that you want to do, or like what is the direction you want to take your life into. And of course, here is again a very good place to emphasize the personal motivation linked to the developmental issue that you're wanting to tackle. Also a good place to talk about your work experience. And when you say work experience, it doesn't necessarily have to be work. It could also be things you've undertaken during societies in college, for example, or different college stuff. work experience could be related to things you've just like signed up for or things you have volunteered for and things like that. For me personally, I never really have worked so far. Like I've never really held a job. I got the scholarship right after my undergrad. So again, like make use of what is it that you have, and don't be scared to bring in something that's very unique to you and very different to you. Moving on to the next slide, the essay on volunteering and leadership experiences. Well, this is the last of your essays, so that's a really good part. So here you're just supposed to summarize the voluntary activities you've undertaken and the opportunities you have had to demonstrate the leadership quality in you. So by the very nature of the scholarship, what they're looking forward to doing is forging these future leaders in all of these countries, the Commonwealth countries, essentially, right? So it's very important for them to know that you showcase some evidence of having those like leadership qualities in your past. So here, if you want to rely on a specific way of answering the question, you could always use the STAR technique, talk about a situation, talk about the task that you were supposed to undertake, the action you took, and what was the overall result of the same. You can demonstrate your leadership through the experiences that you have had in the past. Again, to reemphasize, no experience is too small. Have you shown leadership in a family setting, a friendship setting? Have you shown leadership, of course, through more, how do you say, like more general ways of like starting a project or trying to solve a problem in your own ways? You can talk about anything and everything. The idea is to assess the needs of the question, to see what is it that the question is like looking for, and then bringing your own unique flavor, your own unique persona to the same, and then of course connecting it all. And that would be all for the segments on different essays and things like that. And then in the next slide, if you could move forward to that, these are some general advice on the essays, because I think the entire Commonwealth Shared Scholarship tends to be very like essay based, essay 1, essay 2, essay 3, and all of that. So of course, a lot of questions you'll see are repetitive in nature. They're intended to assess the coherence of your story, your commitment to your goals. And again, even if you're talking about your confidence as a trait, for example, make sure you have different stories to be able to demonstrate the one specific thing that you're talking about. Start early is, of course, this one advice that gets told so much, and it still is so relevant, right? So do start as early as possible, because you will need time to write your statements, to proofread it, to even begin to think about the answer to all of these questions in the way they want you to. So when you do finish your first draft and try to get the first draft out of the way early, of course, take a break, return to the original prompts, then later, and then revisit your answers of sorts, and then keep editing, keep revising, keep revisiting it. You can pass it around for feedback. You can even talk to your friends, for example, when you're crafting these answers, write an elaborate statement and then cut it down to fit the word limit. And then again, give yourself enough time to do all of this. I also wanted to mention that when we say this advice that, hey, start early as soon as possible and things like that, a lot of times life is anything but systematic. A lot of times it's anything but chaotic. I remember when I was applying for my Commonwealth Shared Scholarship, it was so chaotic and just very last minute in a lot of ways, right? So if that is what it ends up looking like for you, I think that's absolutely okay. At the end of the day, life is perfect only in like these general advice PPTs, for example, right? But in real life, you can have a lot of mental health issues, for example. You can be dealing with just like life in general, things like that. So don't be too hard on yourself, be kind to yourself as you're dealing with all of this very intense process. And at the end of the day, no matter what the result is, it is not a comment on your ability as an individual. Number 3, get the first draft out of the way. Don't care about the word limits too much at this point. Just pour your story out. You can always edit, and perfect it later, change things, but get out of your head and then get your story out as soon as possible so that you can craft it in accordance with the word limit and things like that. Talk about your applications with other people, including family and friends. You can ask questions like, okay, like what is it that you think really stands about me as a person? Like, what is it that you really admire about me as a person? Things like that. So like sometimes you can come across really interesting things that you didn't see yourself to be, but things that you are, So I think it's always a good idea to not just talk to your mentors and professors, but also people in your very personal circles. If you can get your essays reviewed, I think that is brilliant. You don't have to accept all the feedbacks and all the comments, of course, because at the end of the day, it is your application, but it would be a good idea always to see what other people might think about the way you are saying something, because sometimes we intend for it to be one way and it comes out another. Last but not the least, beyond the STAR technique and the SMART technique and all of these techniques to answer all of these essay questions, I think at the end of the day, they're just a starting point. The idea is to find your unique voices. The idea is to highlight your lived experiences and bring them all to the table. So don't be scared to let go of them at some point, right? So if you're struggling to find like a starting point in finding your voice, you can always use the SMART technique, the STAR technique, and follow these very specific ways of talking about yourself. But at some point, you let go of it and embrace who you are as a person and embrace this process and just take a plunge. So that would be all from my side, really. All the very best for your applications. Over to Aarti to talk about the things to remember when it comes to filling out your essay application, of course.
Thank you so much, Sandhya. I think you have mentioned every single thing that is there. And I'm so glad that you were just focusing on so many things that are there actually to important to actually proceed with this application. However, there are certain things that I feel, I mean, that I encountered while I was applying for this scholarship. I remember, I just want to give you a very brief of things that you should remember while applying for this scholarship. While writing your essay, take time to introspect and reflect on your own experience, on your own life experiences. You don't know for how many stories you've been a part of and for how many things you were doing and you were involved in, and you really, really proved yourself well in that. So do have a reflection on those things, and these things would be certainly helping you in framing your answers and answering the questions which are there for the development purposes. And don't underestimate, that's what I earlier said as well, don't underestimate your individual growth and leadership quality at the personal level as well. I remember I mentioned one of my personal experience that has nothing to do with the public life or the things that I had done for other people. That was something for myself only, and I mentioned that, and it worked for me. So I feel like, yeah, they are also looking for certain kind of experiences as well in the application. So yeah, you can go with that. Again, the very, very, very important thing, do notify your professor well in advance about the LORs and for the scholarship. And do mention them, because like it's the random thing that happened to me. My professor just submitted the LOR without the letterhead, and these people were contacting me because the letterhead, the LOR was not on the letterhead, so they can't really proceed with the award. So I had to ask the other person to submit the LOR because this person was out of reach now. So this was the problem that I faced. So do avoid this kind of situation. Do inform your professor and do mention them. It should be on the letterhead of the institution. Now next come to the next point that should be remembered by you while applying for this application. Don't hesitate to explicitly share any significant achievement or qualification that you have earned over time, or every single detail. I think Siddhi has already mentioned this. Do mention every single thing that you've been a part of, or do mention every single project that you worked upon. These things really matters, and everything it's counted here in the application process. So do mention every single thing that you feel like is relevant for this application. And next come to just a minute, yeah, remember, essays often require multiple edits and revisions, so don't lose your heart. Keep refining them to bring out the best version of your story. don't really just wait for someone to actually review your answers, because like sometimes the mentors are actually occupied. This happened to me. So I shared my essays with my friends, with my family, and they were just reading it, and they were like, they were suggesting me, because you are on your essay and you feel like, oh, there's no need of any change, but somebody else would be reading it, they usually find some kind of mistakes or some kind of ambiguity in the essays. So do that. Don't just wait for the mentors only. Although the mentors are there, Project EduAccess is a wonderful platform to help you throughout the entire process. But do this activity as well, so that it would be for you to actually refine your answers as much as you can. Next, use different stories to show your different qualities. At Siddhi also shared that there are the chances for you to actually being repetitive in your answer, but try to be innovative in your approach. Try to mention different things that you've been involved in, and this would be giving a lot more opportunities to you to actually mention yourself. Okay, this is the kind of personality you are to Commonwealth Commission. Yeah, that's what you can do. And use impactful word. That's what I mentioned in earlier as well. There are multiple words that you can use and make it more impactful, the entire answers that you have written in your development essays, in your study line. And one thing that I want to mention, it's not there. Do go through the modules of the courses that you want to apply for, and these modules would be helping you a lot to actually refine your answers, to actually help you what kind of research projects or what kind of work you can get involved in the university or in while you are being awarded by this scholarship. And yeah, last but not the least, which is very important, stay motivated, stay patient and consistent throughout the process. I know it's a very long process and also very time taking. Sometimes you feel anxiety, sometimes you feel anxious about the things, but don't really worry about these things. It's a process and it's a part of life. And this process would be giving you a lot more opportunities to actually introspect and actually evaluate yourself. And this would be a very life changing experience, to be honest, because when you reflect on your own experiences, you feel like, okay, this is something that you worked upon, this is something that really helped you, and you can actually frame your own way for the future as well. So yeah, that's it from my end. Thank you so much, and we'll be more than happy to answer any of the questions you have. Thank you.
Okay, maybe we can start from the questions that are there in the chat box, if there are any unanswered questions. I'll just sort of go through the chat box and see what, I think Aarti has replied to some
Yeah.
questions already. So
Hello, can I ask
I have a
something
question.
in voice?
Yeah.
who's, yeah, sure, go ahead.
Okay, thank you so much for this informative session. It is worth listening to the panelists. And my question is that, well, my undergrad degree is entirely different from the course that I'm applying for. And I have also research publication, but it is not also relevant to the course that I'm looking to apply. So will my essays and the impactful will my essays can be the game changer?
Yeah. Siddhi, do you want to answer this?
Yeah, of course. I think I was engaging in a conversation anyway with Hussein on the chat. So there's that. I think at the end of the day, it's always okay to like change your degrees, right? To opt for something you've never studied for before. And yes, at the end of the day, your essays are the way through which you are demonstrating what is it that you're hoping to achieve. So when you're answering the questions, you can focus on why you're hoping to change your degree, what's the place that it comes from. But I don't think you need to like rely on it too much. At the end of the day, for me personally, like I studied political science and sociology, it was a BA degree, and then I went on to study an MSc degree. It was a total change in orientation. I think at the end of the day, don't get too caught up in the fact that you're switching your degree. Like all the advice that we were giving like definitely applies to you. It's amazing that you have a research publication, for example. You can always use it to demonstrate how you already have worked on trying to enhance your researching skills, for example, and you have also managed to actually get a publication, for example. So there's that. I think I'd personally not say like don't get too caught up in the fact that you're switching your degrees, like it really does not matter. What matters is that why do you want to do a specific course? what you're hoping to gain from it, and like all of the things we just discussed. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm so sorry. Yeah, you want to say something?
No. I was just saying that I think it's just brilliant that you have a research publication and all of that, really. But just don't get too caught up in the fact that you're switching degrees. Like it's not important at all, really. So there's that. I wouldn't worry about it at all.
Yeah. Just don't worry about it. The essays would be the game changer for you if you want to if you want to switch your degree, or if you want to switch your course. That won't be mattering here. I don't think so. You just go with the essays, do your best, and put in your all the efforts to refine your answers, that you are the perfect candidate for this kind of course in this university. Yeah, that's it.
Right, so I'm just going to read out a question that is there in the chat box. This is a question by Aswati. The question is, in Commonwealth Master's Scholarship, we can have a personal referee. Is it not the same in case of the shared scholarship? The references have to be uploaded by us or sent directly by the referees. One more question, that quite a few questions, in fact. So we want to answer these first, and then I'll go to the next other questions by the same person.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, but in Commonwealth Master's Scholarship, I really don't know what kind of personal referee were they mentioning there on the application. But here, in the Commonwealth Share Scholarship, there are you can, if you want, you can just go with the professional one that you have, or if you want, you can just use the academic one. In my case, I completed my graduation in 2020, and still I use my academic referees to actually share the LOR. So that's the complete different case for me, and it worked for me. So yeah, I feel like it really doesn't matter. I mean, for the personal one, I really don't know. Do we have this option, Siddhi?
I think the idea is to get a letter of recommendation from an academic person or like a professional person, really. So like I think I wouldn't like dive into like a personal category, right? Because a personal reference it could really entail like anybody, right? So I think I would personally recommend to like keep it professional, like a professional mentor or somebody you've worked with in like a professional capacity, a workplace, for example, or just the supervisors you've worked under through your undergraduate or your master's degree and all of that, really. But then again, if there's someone that you feel is like really, really promising to you, for your case, for example, I would try to like really like go through the guidelines that the Commonwealth gives at the end of the day, because at the end of the day, like it's not about what I say or what Aarti says, for example. It is really about the official mandates that these guys have set out for, and they do try to answer all of the questions that they can in advance. And also you can always write to them, for example. So you can always like reach out, pose a query through an email, for example, and take their take from it, like understand what is it that they want, right? So I think use them as a reliable source of information for queries like that, for sure.
But I would suggest go with the professional or the academic one if possible. Don't really take a risk to actually approach any personal. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
Hi, I had a question, but my chat's disabled. Could I go ahead?
Yeah, please go ahead.
Yeah. Mine is regarding, so in Commonwealth Master Scholarship, the selection criteria is that one of them is that are you returning back to India or not? And then there are certain points given to that. I just want to know, is it similar for the shared scholarship as well? Like, do we have to probably get something notarized that we're going to return, or is there no such clause system? Thank you.
Yeah, Siddhi, do you want to mention?
So for Commonwealth Master Scholarship, as far as I'm aware, like you mentioned, there's a literal point system, for example, and things like that. I don't personally think there's a point-based system for like Commonwealth Shared Scholarships, but for Commonwealth scholarships in general, the idea is that you do return home, do work in the home country afterwards. You'll see a lot of essay questions are also specifically catered to the same. Questions like, oh, what will you do when you return to your home country? Or like, what is it that you're hoping to achieve and things like that, for example. So there's that. But you ask like if you have to like notarize something and like send it across that way, like legally and all of that. You're not supposed to. I do remember that the only thing that we definitely signed as Commonwealth Shared Scholar, or like I did, was that like this thing that I will return to, like I'll return home within 1 month completion of my course and things like that. Like that was the only legal aspects I remember of, really. Like maybe Aarti can add to that, but for Commonwealth Shared Scholar, I don't think we signed a mandate of sorts about it. But I think again, it's a general recommendation, it's general expectations that they want you to take developmental work in your own country after you have gotten this scholarship.
Yeah, even for me, I think like it was there in the last application where I applied. So it's there. As Siddhi mentioned, that the questions are in that manner only, that well they'll be mentioning, okay, what will you doing in your home country after the award. So yeah, it's there. It's very much there. Even when I received the confirmation of award form, there as well it was mentioned, okay, would you be coming to the home country? And yeah, so I think it's there. So do mention that you'll be coming here again.
Yeah, and like if you're unsure or stuff like that for example about it, you don't have to like emphasize it on like too much, right? Like at the end of the day, like life kind of just happens, right? So there's that. But yeah, like I think again it's a good idea to understand the place where the scholarship comes from, really. So yeah.
And I would suggest you don't mention it in your application that you won't be coming here again. Do mention that you'll come and work there in your country. Yeah.
Yeah. And can I ask a question?
Sure.
Yeah. So I chose the courses and all that, and then I was applying for the course, but I had this confusion that we had to apply through two different portals. Like one is CSE will apply before 12th December, and one is the university application that we will be making. So while making the university application, like, is there any way we have to make the university aware that we are applying for this scholarship or something? This was the confusing point. And then one more thing is, like, this university deadlines are like universities have a different date, and then the CSE has a different date for deadlines and all that. University courses have different dates. So do we have to like fill the university and CSE both up by the 12th December, or can we like put the university application later after submitting the CSE? Yeah.
Has I'll just intervene to read out a question that is related to the one just that has been
All
asked
right.
just now. So the question is, do we need to get an unconditional offer from the university before getting nominated? And second is, do we have to mention in the university application that we are applying to Commonwealth Shared Scholarship?
All right. So for the first question, that would be better if you apply for the university well in advance. I mean, while we have the deadline for the Commonwealth scholarship as well, that would be easier for you. I don't know about the other scholarship, other colleges, but for my courses, I applied well within the deadline of the Commonwealth scholarship. So I applied for the courses and I applied for the Commonwealth scholarship. And for the second question, I would say you should be having unconditional offer letter. See, you must be having unconditional offer letter, only then you'll get the not notification or the mail from the university that you have been nominated for the scholarship. So they already be giving you the conditional or unconditional offer letter, and they'll be mailing you too for this. So yeah, I think Siddhi, could you just
So
explain?
yeah. So here's the thing, right? You have to necessarily make your university application before you're applying for the Commonwealth thing, because I specifically remember, like, don't they ask you for like an application number or something that you filled like in your university application form as it is? So please, like, make your university application as soon as possible. Make a simultaneous Commonwealth shared application for it as soon as possible. You have to do both. Don't wait for the fact that your university deadlines are going to be placed well in advance. You're supposed to do both.
Yeah.
Okay, start with university one, fill a simultaneous Commonwealth shared scholarship application for that specific thing after. So there's that. And also, I think the second question kind of arises from the fact that the Commonwealth Master's Shared Scholarship expects you to have that unconditional offer, but for Commonwealth Shared Scholarships, it's very much interlinked with the university and things like that. So you really do not have to worry about, writing to the university and demanding the unconditional offer letter and things like that. Like, that's one less hassle if you're applying for Commonwealth Shared Scholarship, right? Like, make your application to the university, make it to the Commonwealth Shared people, and like you're done. Really, you don't have to produce any unconditional offer letters and things like that, because it's a shared scholarship, so the university and the Commonwealth are going to be very well in touch about you getting that award if you get nominated, for example.
Yeah. And yeah, thank you for mentioning this. Yeah, we have to mention the application number in the application itself, application form of the CSE. So do apply simultaneously. It would be a perk for you because ultimately you'll be writing your personal statement. So you can use that point in your essay answers as well. So
Can I
that,
ask?
Just
yeah, please.
give me one. I'm going to read out a question because that has been there for in the chat box for quite some time, and then you can go next. So there are a few questions from Rushan. One is that one of the eligibility criteria talks about that an applicant should be unable to afford studies without the scholarship. Does the scholarship application form require one to provide any evidence for the same?
Not really, not really. No, you don't have to provide your evidence. Okay, you are financially unstable right now. No, you are
Okay,
applying for the
then
scholarship because you can't really afford it.
okay, then the question is it possible to change a referee, a letter at the nomination stage? And so a related question is that one of my professor will be retiring in January 2025. So can I still list them as an academic referee?
Siddhi?
Yeah, okay. Also, like to begin with, I think there was there were two questions in the second question that was asked earlier. So, like, do we have to mention the university in the university application that we're applying to the Commonwealth Shared Scholarship and like all of that? Like I think even the first person asked that question. So I think if there's a specific section for it, I think some universities do like go ahead and mention the same really. Otherwise, there's a general understanding that you don't have to go out of your way to do it. But I mean, again, like if you want to go about it, you can also always literally drop an email to the university, mention that you're also applying for the Commonwealth Shared Scholarship and things like that, right? Universities in UK are really big on emails. You can always like reach out to them with questions and things like that and get that clarity, right? They are dedicated teams that are looking at international students that want to make sure that you are coming there. And all of that, right? So yeah, I hope that answers the part about do we have to specifically mention to the university application, all of that, right? So that's that. With about like changing referees, I don't think it's something recommended at the end of the day. Like you're supposed to like give three like nominate three referees, right? And I think at the end of the day, I think I was asked to produce two LORs by my university and not three. So I don't think, generally speaking, it would be a good practice to go ahead with that in mind that, oh, you're going to change your referee at the end of the day, really, right? They don't care about the designation of your referee, for example. They don't care if it's like prime minister of a certain country and things like that. The idea is that this person knows you in a personal enough capacity in the sense that they've worked with you, they see that vision in you, they believe in you, and they're extending that belief to the Commonwealth and they're kind of vouching for you. So I'd personally recommend against the same. That being said, again, like life happens, and if that is like the kind of situation you are in, I think you would have to write to the Commonwealth, drop them an email, understand like what is happening really. Again, I think even for another question before, I was like, some things like, especially very specific things like these, like we cannot give you like that green flag, right? You'll have to care about what Commonwealth thinks, right? And then regarding the professor that's gonna be retiring soon and things like that, again, I think it might be a better idea to like reach out to Commonwealth and like talk about it. I think personally speaking, it's okay that they're retiring. Like, what if they were to already write you a letter in advance? Like, why not just get a letter from them right now if they are able to do so, right? Like, ultimately, I don't think you have to wait until the very end to get nominated to get those LORs, because here's the thing, right? Sometimes even universities ask for letter of recommendations when you're filling out their applications at the end of the day. So yeah, I think this is what I'll have to say about it. Like, you can get the letter now if that's okay. So that letterhead is not a problem, for example, because I can understand how letterhead is definitely important, generally speaking, right? Otherwise, anybody could produce an LOR, really. And that letterhead gives that kind of authority to it. So there's that. But also, like, will the university be willing to still let the professor use the letterhead, for example, even after they've retired, by virtue of them being associated with the university for a decent amount of time, for example? So I think those are the things I would look into. And Aarti, if there's anything you want to add about it.
Yeah, I feel if your professor is getting retired, you have two option. One, you can approach the other professor, and that's what I mentioned in the presentation itself. So do inform your professor well in advance about sharing the LORs near in future. Even if you feel like, okay, I mean, do inform them. Don't care about the nomination or not. What if you get nominated and you want them, right? And for the person, for the professor who's getting retired, we have this option as well, but I'm not really sure. It would be better to ask the CSC first. But we have this option. If the person is getting retired, he must be having some kind of letterhead or something for his personal uses as well, so he can use that. Or else there are, so for my application I provided 3 referees, but 2 reference letter actually worked for me, not the third one. So they act to proceed for the application or to proceed for the award, they only require 2 LORs. So make sure you have 2 LORs submitted by these professors on your behalf. So yeah, but do inform other people as well. I mean, just have a buffer. If you feel like, okay, the professor is getting retired, why don't you just ask any other professor so that you would be having a person?
Right. So we're running also out of time. So I'll just quickly run through sort of a couple of more questions, and then we can sort of,
Wrap
we can sort of leave. The university application essays can be modified for different courses, but can the panelists explain how to navigate the scholarship essays in case an applicant is applying to 2 different courses in the same field, to a different fields, like for example, development studies and public policy?
Yeah, so what I feel, you can apply for as many application as you want, and for different courses, not the university, for different courses you have to go with the new application form. So yeah, every time you have to change your answer as per the courses, as per the requirement of the courses. Yeah, Siddhi, do you want to add?
Yeah, I mean, I can understand like how, like, like, of course, like the question like makes sense, right? Like it's a very valid question. Like, how will you go about tweaking this specific set of answers you had for like one course? But it's just the way you go about it, right? Like, okay, so for example, you know, even if you're talking about applying to different courses, a lot of your leadership experience or a lot of your volunteer experience would look the same, right? I'm sure maybe for another course or something, another experience would be more valuable, but I think there are some things that can stay the same, especially if you're applying for something in a same theme. I think you as a person wouldn't change, for example, even if you're applying to different courses, right? But at the end of the day, treat every application as a unique application, as a new application, really, right? Because if you're gonna be just like copy pasting a different answer, like here, or whatever, these guys are gonna know, right? Like that's their job. They just assess applications day and night, really, at the end of the day. I think when we say that make multiple applications, or when we say that, oh, it's just you could use bits and pieces from your previous answers into new answers, I think, it's just a thing of like starting from a blank slate, for example, always tricky, right? But once you've already done that process for a specific application, I think it's just easier to tweak your answers or like add more to a different answer in a next application, for example, right? Because this time you're not starting from zero, you're starting from experience, for example, right? But definitely modify your answers, and treat every application as new, as different, as a very specific, unique application, right? So there's that. Make sure it's a quality application at the end of the day. Don't be just focused on making 10 applications or 12 applications. I think that's really not the idea, right? Make sure that every application you're filling, you're giving it your best. But then at the end of the day, because there's no set limit, don't be afraid to make multiple applications in whatever ways that seems fit to you. Yeah.
Can I
There is
ask?
one, Rushan.
Are you Masood? Right, you can go ahead. You can ask your question.
Good evening, everyone. Am I audible?
Yes,
Yes.
yes.
Yes. So my question is, I already applied for a letter of recommendation. So my college principal gave me only one recommendation. So can I ask for the a particular professor? Can you give me another letter of recommendation? How many letter of recommendation is required?
So for this application, you require 3 letter of recommendation, that too after the nomination. But if you want to apply for the universities, then I think there is particular criteria by the university, how many letter of recommendation do they require. So if you go by SOAS, they don't really require any letter of recommendation. But if you go by Sussex, they require only one recommended LOR. And if you go other universities, then they have different criteria for different LORs, right? So you need to go through the university's website for this. But for CSE, you need to require 3 LORs for your application.
So they particularly give me a particular professor for the LOR.
As in, can you just reframe
A
your
professor.
So I can, sir, you have to approach your professors yourself. You can write to your professors, like you
Yeah.
don't write to your principal or dean for reference. You write to the particular professor from whom you want a reference. So you write to your professors, and then you can get a reference.
Yeah, you can approach them after like a lecture, after like a class or something, right? And totally don't care about how you need to get a reference from like this big suited person or whatever, like the highest authority in the college and things like that. The idea is not how great the person recommending you is. The idea is that how great you are in a specific person's eye, the person you've worked with in a professional capacity or in an academic capacity, of course. So there's that. And of course, for every Commonwealth application, you don't need to produce like a new referee and a new LOR. Like, make sure your referees are like writing like a general LOR that you can like use in like different cases, for example, So there's that, unless you would want to like approach different people for like different courses or whatever. Like, I think that's totally like a personal call, of course, at the end of the day. And I think, for example, if you've already asked your principal for your LOR, I mean, of course, I'm sure like they can very well still give you a new one, but try to make sure that, you're not approaching the same person again and again for that LOR, which is to say that like I'm like when you're approaching a specific person for an LOR, like make sure that you're having a conversation with them, talking to them about what is it that you're hoping that they talk about you and all of that, right? So there's that, because assuming that the principal is a busy person, like I like, ideally, I think they would not want to be like, oh yeah, like there's a specific person that I admire, like let me write LORs again and again for them, right? So there's
And one
that.
thing which is important to mention here, don't approach the principal because they require someone who knows you personally. I don't think how principal is actually get in touch with you, because the professors are there who teaches us. Right? Like the professor is there who teaches us and who knows us personally. So do approach the professor instead of the principal. That's what I think.
Unless you work with them in a personal capacity, right? Like maybe like you worked on a close collaboration with them for your college, for example. So go ahead, but like don't choose a principal because they're a principal, right? Like choose the people you're choosing because of the relationship you share with them and because of the qualities they see in you. Yeah.
Yeah, if the professor is retired or resigned, so what in this situation, what can I do?
I think
If
we
it
have
is not,
mentioned this answer. Yeah, I think we have already mentioned it. But if the person is retiring, you can ask that person to use that personal LOR, that whatever letterhead that they have, they can write the LOR, but have a buffer as well. Do inform other professors. If the person is retiring, then you can approach the other person. That's what you can do.
thank you. Thanks a lot.
No worries.
Yeah, I think sort of we can stop here. We have been here from 2, so it's been almost like more than 90 minutes. So I can thank so much Siddhi and Aarti for giving us your time and for taking these questions. It was lovely to hear from you both. And once again, thank you everyone for joining for the session. And the recording, I think, will be uploaded on the YouTube channel. So if you missed anything, you can go and check our YouTube channel where you'll find the recorded session. And yeah, that's all. Any final comments from Siddhi, Aarti, to?
Yeah, so I just wanted to say all the very, very best for your application process. It is not easy. It can be really hard on you sometimes. So make sure that you are kind to yourself through it all. At the end of the day, no scholarship is a commentary on you as a person, right? And so like don't get dejected no matter what the result is, whatever it is that your personal pursuit is, whatever it is that you care about, whatever it is that you're mentioning in your application it is that you think that you care about. Don't let go of that, right? Don't let go of your lived experiences. Don't let go of whatever it is that you envision to be doing in the world. At the end of the day, you are much bigger than just like this scholarship, for example, right? And I think, again, it can be so easy for someone to say, especially if they have gotten the scholarship, for example, But even then, I mean, for me personally, I feel such a huge imposter syndrome about all of this sometimes, right? I'm like, okay, do I even like deserve this? Like, what is it that I've done so greatly or whatever? I think at the end of the day, it is important to remember that there are limited number of scholarships or limited number of seats on the course or whatever, and things like that. So again, none of this is a commentary on you as a person. Continue dreaming big, continue doing the amazing things I'm sure you already are doing in your individual lives. And all the very best as for this process. You can apply year after year. I don't think there's even a limit to something like that, for example. So yeah, just go for it, really.
I just want to say all the best. Stay true yourself and do your best. All the best.